Chosen one, why does your bed feel colder now than it did 20 years ago? Why does Saturday night silence cut deeper than it ever did in your youth? Why do you scroll through your phone at 2 a.m., wondering if God forgot you were still here, still breathing, still hoping for one more chance at love? Listen to me very carefully. What I'm about to tell you will shatter every lie you've believed about your age, your past, and your future. Your next relationship, yes, even now, even at 67, 72, 85 years old, will shock everyone who ever wrote you off as too old or too damaged or past your season. This isn't wishful thinking. This is prophetic declaration. And if your heart just skipped a beat reading those words, that wasn't anxiety, that was recognition. Your spirit knows something your mind hasn't caught up to yet. You see, while you've been grieving what ended, God has been preparing what's coming. While you've been replaying the betrayal, the divorce, the funeral, the 43 years of marriage that ended with a hospital bed and a last breath. Heaven has been arranging a divine collision that will rewrite your final chapters. But here's what breaks my heart. Some of you have convinced yourselves that love died with your spouse, that romance expired with your youth. That companionship is for people whose hands don't shake when they pour coffee. Stop right there. Before we go deeper, I want to pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through Super Thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and let the Holy Spirit lead your giving. Now, if you feel something stirring in your chest right now, if that familiar ache just became something else, something like, "Hope, I need you to do something," type "I'm ready" in the comments. Not for me, for heaven. Let the angels see your agreement. Let God know you're finally willing to believe again. Because what I'm about to reveal in the next hour will explain why that door God slammed shut wasn't rejection, it was redirection. Why your loneliness wasn't punishment, it was preparation. And why the next person he sends will feel so impossible, so supernatural, that everyone will whisper, how did they find love at their age? Stay with me until the final revelation, because the last sign is the one the enemy worked overtime to hide from you. The door God shuts becomes the hallway to a better room. And, beloved, your room is ready. Why have you been alone for so long when others your age found someone new within months? Why did that person you thought was the one suddenly disappear without explanation? Why does it feel like God answered everyone else's prayers for companionship except yours? Listen to me, beloved. What if I told you that your loneliness wasn't abandonment, it was assignment? What if every door that closed, every relationship that ended, every person who walked away was actually God's hand of protection moving chess pieces you couldn't see? You weren't single because something was wrong with you. You were single because heaven was shielding you. I know how that sounds. I know you've spent nights wondering if you're unlovable, if you're too damaged, if your season has passed. You've watched younger people find love, remarry, start over while you sit in that same chair, eating dinner alone, wondering what you did wrong to deserve this isolation. But dear one, you didn't do anything wrong. You did everything right. You stayed when God said stay. You waited when he said wait. You closed your heart when he whispered, not this one, not yet. Think about Moses. Before he could deliver a nation, God hid him in the wilderness for 40 years. 40 years. Can you imagine? Moses went from Prince of Egypt to forgotten shepherd, tending sheep in obscurity, probably wondering if God had given up on him. But that wilderness wasn't punishment, it was preparation. God was removing the Egyptian pride, the self-reliance, the false identity, so Moses could carry the weight of his true calling. Think about David, anointed as king while still a teenager, but then what happened? He spent years hiding in caves, running from Saul, living like a fugitive when he should have been sitting on a throne. 1 Samuel 22 tells us he hid in the cave of Adullam alone, rejected, forgotten by everyone except God. But in that cave, something was being forged. The shepherd boy was becoming a warrior king. The cave wasn't his prison, it was his classroom. And you, chosen one, God hid you too. While you've been asking, "Why am I still alone?" heaven has been answering, "Because I'm not done preparing what I'm sending." While you've been crying, "Did you forget about me?" the Almighty has been working behind the scenes, removing toxic people from your path, closing doors to relationships that would have destroyed you, protecting you from connections that looked good but carried poison. You think you were rejected. You were protected. That person who seemed perfect but suddenly ghosted you, God saw the addiction they were hiding. That relationship that felt right but ended abruptly, heaven knew they would have drained every dollar from your savings. That companion you prayed for who never showed up, the Lord saw the control, the manipulation, the slow suffocation of your spirit that would have come with them. Sometimes God closes a door not because the room is empty, but because the wolves walked in first. Proverbs 16:9 says, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." You planned for companionship, you planned for love, you planned to grow old with someone, but God established something different, not to hurt you, but to position you for something better than what you could have planned for yourself. But here's what's going to shake you. Here's what the enemy has been working overtime to keep you from understanding. Every year you spent alone, every holiday you celebrated with an empty chair beside you, every wedding you attended solo, every Valentine's Day you pretended didn't hurt, none of it was wasted time. You were being refined like silver in fire. You were learning to find your identity in God instead of in another person. You were developing spiritual depth that shallow relationships never could have given you. You were becoming someone who could handle the level of love God is preparing to send, because the wrong person at the wrong time would have destroyed you, but the right person at the right time will complete you. Ecclesiastes 3:11 tells us, God has made everything beautiful in its time, not in your time, in His time. And His timing, though it feels late to you, is actually perfectly, precisely, divinely on schedule. You needed to become who you are now to attract who they're becoming. You needed to heal from what broke you before, to recognize what will build you forward. You needed to learn that your worth isn't determined by whether someone chooses you, but by the one who already chose you before the foundation of the world. There's a reason God kept certain people away from you. There's a reason He didn't let you say yes to the wrong soul. There's a reason He allowed the loneliness to linger longer than felt fair. Because what's coming requires someone who's been emptied of desperation, freed from codependency, and filled with the kind of peace that can only come from years of learning to be whole alone. Your isolation wasn't rejection, it was preparation. Your waiting wasn't punishment, it was protection. Your loneliness wasn't abandonment, it was divine strategy. And now, right now, that season of shielding is coming to an end. The door that's been closed is about to open. The person God has been preparing is about to walk into your life. And when they do, everyone who questioned your faith, everyone who pitied your singleness, everyone who whispered "poor thing," still alone at that age, they're all about to witness what happens when God's timing collides with His promise. If this speaks to your spirit, if something deep inside you just shifted from grief to hope, say it right now in the comments. I receive clarity. Let heaven mark this moment when you stopped questioning the wait and started trusting the why. Because, beloved, you're about to understand something that will change everything. The pause had purpose. The waiting had wisdom. And what's coming next will prove that God's delays are never denials, they're divine setups for supernatural stories. But before you can receive who's coming, you need to understand why they'll feel impossible. You remember that night, don't you? The one you've never told anyone about. When you stood in front of the bathroom mirror at 2 a.m., mascara running down your cheeks, wedding ring still on your finger, even though he'd already moved in with someone younger. The house was so quiet you could hear your own heartbeat. And you whispered to that reflection, "God, did I waste my entire life on the wrong person?" Or maybe it wasn't a mirror. Maybe it was a hospital room. 43 years of marriage, ending with a flat line and a nurse's hand on your shoulder. You walked out into a parking lot that felt like the surface of the moon, cold, empty, airless. Everyone said, "I'm sorry for your loss," but nobody said, "I'm sorry you have to learn how to be a person again at 72 years old." Some of you are sitting there right now, and the wound isn't divorce or death. It's something worse. It's invisibility. Your children moved 3 states away. Your grandchildren know your voice from speakerphone, not from your kitchen. You go days without a real conversation. The mailman might be the only person who says your name out loud. And late at night, when the house settles and creaks, you wonder if this is it. If loneliness is just the price you pay for growing old in America. Let me tell you something that's going to cut deep. Those birthdays nobody remembered. The anniversary you spent alone, staring at his empty chair. The phone that never rings anymore even though you check it 17 times a day. That wasn't random. That wasn't punishment. That was preparation. Psalm 34:18 says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Close, not distant. Not watching from heaven with clinical detachment. Close, like a father holding a daughter who just got her heart shattered. Like a mother rocking a son through his darkest night. God doesn't stand at a distance from your pain. He gets in it with you. But here's what most people miss about that verse. It doesn't say God is close to the brokenhearted so he can pity you. It says he's close so he can save you. Save you from what? From staying broken. From believing the lie that your story ended when that relationship did. From thinking that the cracks in your heart disqualify you from ever being whole again. You see, the enemy wanted those wounds to destroy you. He wanted the betrayal to make you bitter. He wanted the loneliness to make you give up. He wanted the loss to convince you that love was a one-time thing, and you already used yours up. But God had a different plan. He was using those wounds to train you, to prepare you, to carve out space in your soul for something your younger self could never have handled. Think about it. That marriage that ended. It taught you what you will never tolerate again. That betrayal. It showed you what real loyalty looks like by showing you what counterfeit devotion does. That loneliness. It forced you to build a relationship with God so intimate, so deep, that the next person he sends won't be your savior, they'll be your companion on a journey you're already walking with the Almighty. You were being trained for someone heaven hand-picked. Not someone you found on a dating app. Not someone your daughter set you up with at church. Someone God himself has been preparing while you were being prepared. Someone who's been through their own fire, their own breaking, their own valley of shadows. Someone whose scars match yours like 2 broken pieces of the same vessel. Because here's the mystery, nobody tells you about sacred love at this stage of life. A cracked vessel still holds oil when God pours into it. Actually, it holds it better. You know why? Because the cracks let the light shine through. Because the breaks create more surface area for the anointing to cling to. Because what the world calls damage, heaven calls capacity. When you were young and unbroken, you wanted someone who completed you. Now that you're older and scarred, you don't need completion. You need companionship. You don't need someone to fix you. You need someone who understands that some things don't get fixed, they get redeemed. You don't need romance that makes your heart race. You need partnership that makes your soul rest. And that's exactly what God has been preparing. But you had to be wounded first. You had to learn that love isn't about perfection, it's about presence. You had to discover that intimacy isn't about passion, it's about peace. You had to understand that the deepest connections happen not between 2 people who have never been broken, but between 2 people who've been shattered and still chose to believe in beauty. Every tear you cried into that pillow, God collected it. Psalm 56:8 says, He stores your tears in a bottle. He's been keeping record. Every sleepless night, every holiday you spent alone, every moment you wondered if anyone would ever see you again. Heaven was watching, taking notes, preparing the person who will look at your scars and say, "Me too." So let me ask you something that's going to shake you. What if your next relationship won't shock everyone because you found someone at your age? What if it will shock them because the love you find is deeper, truer, and more sacred than anything you experienced when you were young and whole? What if the wounds weren't the end of your love story? What if they were the beginning of the real one? Let me tell you something that's going to cut deep, but you need to hear it. That person who left, that marriage that crumbled after 42 years, that partner who walked out when you needed them most. You didn't lose them, chosen one. God removed them. And I know what you're thinking right now. But we had history. But we had children together. But I invested my entire life. Yes, you did. And that's exactly why God had to intervene. Because you were so busy honoring a covenant that the other person had already abandoned, you couldn't see what heaven was trying to show you. You kept loving people who never learned how to stay. Think about it. How many times did you make yourself smaller so they could feel bigger? How many dreams did you bury so their ego could breathe? How many nights did you cry in the bathroom while they slept peacefully, oblivious to the fact that you were dying inside? You became a master at shrinking. You learned to dim your light so their insecurity wouldn't be threatened. You stopped talking about your prayers, your revelations, your encounters with God, because they looked at you like you were crazy. You stopped mentioning your gifts because they called you too much. You stopped being you because the person who promised to love you for life couldn't handle the fullness of who God created you to be. And here's what breaks my heart: you thought that was love. You thought sacrifice meant erasure. You thought commitment meant accepting crumbs when God had prepared a feast. But let me tell you what really happened. That relationship didn't fall apart because you failed. It collapsed because you outgrew it. And the moment you started waking up to who you really are, the moment your spirit began remembering its divine origin, that union couldn't contain you anymore. 2 Corinthians 6:14 asks a question that should shake you. What fellowship has light with darkness? Not some fellowship, not occasional fellowship. What fellowship? The answer is none. Zero. And yet you spent decades trying to make it work with someone who resented your light. You know what the real tragedy is? They saw your strength and called it controlling. They witnessed your faith and labeled it fanaticism. They experienced your love and twisted it into manipulation. Because small people always rewrite history to make themselves the victim and you the villain. That divorce you're still ashamed of, that separation your children blamed you for, that breakup that made the church gossip. Let me tell you what really happened from heaven's perspective. God was extracting you from a tomb you called home. He was pulling you out of a grave you had decorated with family photos and wedding vows. He was rescuing you from slow death disguised as stability. You didn't fail at love. You graduated from accepting less than love and calling it devotion. I can feel some of you fighting me right now. But they weren't all bad. We had good times. Yes, you did. And that's what made it so dangerous. Because the enemy doesn't destroy you with obvious evil. He destroys you with just enough good to keep you trapped. Just enough hope to keep you trying, just enough potential to keep you invested in someone who had already checked out emotionally, spiritually, and sometimes even physically. Proverbs 13:20 warns us, "Walk with the wise and become wise, but a companion of fools suffers harm." Not might suffer, not could suffer, suffers harm. That word companion in Hebrew means someone you're joined to, someone you're in covenant with. And God is saying that the wrong companionship doesn't just annoy you, it damages you at a cellular level. Your blood pressure rising every time they came home, that was your body trying to tell you what your heart refused to hear. Your anxiety spiking whenever you heard their car in the driveway. That was your spirit screaming that this wasn't peace, this was trauma with a wedding ring. Your depression deepening year after year. That was your soul grieving the death of who you were supposed to become. But you stayed, because you're faithful, because you made a vow, because you believed that's what real love looked like, enduring hell and calling it heaven. Stop right there, let that settle. God never asked you to sacrifice your sanity for someone's comfort. Christ died for the church. He didn't ask the church to die in dysfunction and call it ministry. There's a difference between bearing one another's burdens and becoming someone's permanent emotional punching bag. And now, after everything, you're sitting here wondering if you'll ever find someone who actually sees you. Someone who doesn't shrink from your strength but celebrates it. Someone who doesn't fear your fire but stands beside it and says, "Burn brighter." I'm here to tell you something that's going to sound impossible. The one coming next will not be intimidated by your strength. They won't be threatened by your prayers. They won't be jealous of your relationship with God. They won't compete with your calling. Why? Because God doesn't send boys to handle what He's building in a woman. He doesn't send fearful men to match with fearless women. He doesn't pair the awakened with the spiritually dead. The person you outgrew had to go, so the person you're becoming has room to breathe. That empty space in your bed isn't loneliness, it's consecrated ground, being prepared for something sacred. If you know in the deepest part of your spirit that God removed someone to protect you, to promote you, to prepare you for what's next, type, "Thank you, Lord," in the comments right now. Let heaven hear your gratitude for the extraction disguised as rejection, because what I'm about to tell you next will reveal exactly why that painful ending was actually a merciful beginning. You know what nobody tells you about getting older? It's not that you stop wanting love, it's that you stop tolerating anything less than real love. At 25, you'd put up with the drama, the games, the silent treatments that lasted for days. At 45, you learned to ignore the red flags because you'd already invested so much time. But now at 67, 72, 80 years old, you don't want drama anymore. You want peace. You don't want passion that burns out by Tuesday. You want companionship that feels like coming home. And here's what's going to shake you to your core. God knew this about you before you knew it yourself. Listen carefully, chosen one. That waiting season you've been living through, the one that felt like punishment, like being forgotten in the corner, while everyone else found their person that wasn't God, ignoring your loneliness. That was God preparing you for someone so aligned with your spirit that the relationship won't just work, it will heal. You've been sitting in what I call the sacred preparation room. And I know it didn't feel sacred. It felt like abandonment. Every holiday alone, every wedding you attended solo, every couple holding hands in the grocery store while you pushed your cart past them, eyes down, wondering if God ran out of blessings by the time He got to your name. But what if I told you that every single day of that loneliness was God scraping off the parts of you that would have sabotaged what's coming? Think about Ruth for a moment. The Bible tells us in Ruth 1:16 she made a declaration, "Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay." But before she ever met Boaz, before she ever stepped into that field where her future husband would notice her, she had to lose everything. Her husband died. Her security vanished. She became a foreigner in a strange land, gleaning leftover grain just to survive. The world looked at Ruth and saw a widow past her prime, damaged goods, too old to start over. But God was polishing her, refining her, teaching her loyalty, humility, faithfulness, the exact qualities Boaz would recognize as priceless when he finally saw her. You think you've been alone all this time. You've been in the polishing room. Or consider Elizabeth. Luke 1:7 tells us she was very old when the angel appeared to Zacharias. Very old. Beyond childbearing years, beyond hope. The neighbors had stopped asking when she'd have a baby. Even her husband had given up believing. But God hadn't forgotten Elizabeth. He was waiting for the precise moment when her son would prepare the way for the Messiah himself. Elizabeth's delay wasn't denial. It was divine timing. And beloved, so is yours. Here's what the enemy doesn't want you to understand. God didn't delay your relationship, He marinated it. Like a master chef preparing the finest cut of meat, soaking it in spices and thyme until every fiber is tender, every flavor perfectly balanced. That's what heaven has been doing with your next connection. You couldn't have handled this person 10 years ago. You would have brought your bitterness into it, your need to control, your fear of being hurt again, your inability to receive love because you didn't believe you deserved it. But something's different now, isn't it? You've cried enough tears to fill baptismal pools. You've prayed enough prayers to wear grooves in heaven's floor. You've survived enough heartbreak to know that you're stronger than you ever imagined. The waiting wasn't wasted, it was working. And there's something else God's been building in you during this season, something so powerful that when this next relationship arrives, it won't just be different from anything you've experienced. It will be proof that God saves His best wine for last. There is a trait He's been cultivating in you, a spiritual gift you didn't have in your younger years, something that will make this next relationship not just good, but supernatural. You'll see why in a moment. But first, you need to understand something that's going to challenge everything you've been told about love and age. What if the reason you haven't found the one yet is because you are the one? What if you're not waiting to be chosen, you're waiting to recognize the person heaven already chose for you before you were born? Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will explain why your next relationship won't look like your last one, why it won't feel like anything you've known before, and why everyone who knows your story is going to whisper, "How is this even possible?" The preparation is almost over, beloved. The polishing is nearly complete. And what's about to walk into your life will prove that God's timing isn't late, it's precise. But first, you need to know the signs. The unmistakable markers that will tell you this person isn't just another date, another maybe, another disappointment. These signs are so specific, so divinely orchestrated, that missing them would be like standing in front of a burning bush and complaining about the heat. Are you ready to recognize what God has prepared? Because the first sign is one you've probably already seen and didn't realize what it meant. Listen to me, chosen one. What I'm about to share with you isn't theory pulled from some self-help book gathering dust on a shelf. These are the 5 unmistakable signs that heaven itself is orchestrating your next chapter. And if even one of these is happening in your life right now, you need to pay attention, because God doesn't waste movements. He doesn't shift atmospheres for no reason. Sign 1. You feel a strange peace instead of fear. You know what should terrify you. The thought of starting over at your age. The thought of trusting someone new after what the last one did to you. The thought of opening your heart again when the scar tissue is still fresh. That should keep you awake at 3 a.m., shouldn't it? But it doesn't. Instead, there's this calm. This unexplainable peace that makes no logical sense. Your friends think you're in denial. Your children worry you're losing your grip on reality. But you know something they don't. You feel something they can't. Isaiah 26:3 says, "You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast, because they trust in you." Perfect peace, not partial peace. Not "I hope this works out" peace. Perfect peace that passes all understanding. Here's what nobody tells you about divine preparation. God removes your fear before He moves your feet. He settles your spirit before He sends your person. Because if you met them while you were still trembling, you'd run. If they showed up while you were still broken, you'd sabotage it. That peace you're feeling, that's not you being naive. That's God saying, "I've got this. Stop white-knuckling your life and let me work." Sign 2, your standards suddenly rise. Something shifted, didn't it? You used to settle. You used to make excuses for bad behavior. You used to convince yourself that good enough was all you deserved at this stage of life. But lately, you can't. Something in you has changed. You're no longer willing to tolerate disrespect just to avoid loneliness. You're no longer interested in relationships that feel like negotiations. You're no longer desperate for crumbs when God's been setting a table. Proverbs 31:10 asks, "A wife of noble character who can find? She is worth far more than rubies." But flip that. A man of integrity, a woman of substance, these aren't just nice-to-haves. They're non-negotiables when God is doing the matchmaking. Here's the truth that will set you free. When heaven raises your standards, it's because heaven is raising your person. God doesn't increase your discernment to frustrate you. He sharpens your vision so you won't miss what He's about to send. You're not being picky. You're being prepared. Sign 3. Someone from the past no longer has emotional access. You know who I'm talking about. That person who used to occupy your thoughts rent-free. The one whose name on your phone used to make your stomach drop. The ex who kept circling back. The what-if that haunted you for years. But something happened. One day you woke up, and they were just a person. No charge, no pull, no unfinished business. 2 Corinthians 5:17 declares, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone, the new is here. The old has gone." Not the old is on pause. Not the old is on the back burner. Gone. God doesn't give you closure to torture you. He gives you closure to free you. And when He severs emotional ties to your past, it's because He's clearing the path for your future. That indifference you feel toward what used to devastate you, that's not coldness, that's freedom. That's God saying, "You're ready now. You've healed enough. You've grown enough. You're finally ready for what I've been holding." Sign 4. Your spirit rejects rushed relationships. Everything in you wants to move fast, doesn't it? Time feels short. The years are ticking. You don't want to waste time getting to know someone when you could just dive in and figure it out as you go. But every time you think about rushing, something stops you. Something in your gut says, "Not yet. Slow down. Wait." Ecclesiastes 3:1 reminds us, there is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. Every activity, including love, including companionship, including the relationship that's going to rewrite your story. Here's what the enemy wants you to believe, that your age means you need to hurry, that loneliness justifies lowered standards, that desperation is the same thing as readiness. But God is never in a hurry. He's thorough. He builds foundations before He builds houses. He establishes character before He establishes covenants. When your spirit keeps pumping the brakes on relationships that make sense on paper, that's not fear, that's discernment. That's the Holy Spirit protecting you from settling for almost when He's got absolutely waiting around the corner. Sign 5. You feel watched spiritually. This one's going to sound strange, but stay with me. Have you noticed how certain coincidences keep happening? How you keep running into reminders of faithfulness, of love stories that bloomed late, of couples who found each other when everyone said it was impossible. You're being watched, chosen one, not by people, by heaven. Psalm 32:8 promises, "I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my loving eye on you." His eye is on you, watching, guiding, orchestrating. God doesn't take His eyes off what He's about to bless. He doesn't look away from assignments He's about to activate. And if you've been feeling this strange sense of being seen, known, followed by divine coincidences, it's because you are. The same God who counted every hair on your head is counting every day until He introduces you to the person He's been preparing while He was preparing you. Heaven reveals new love in stages, never all at once. Because if you saw the whole picture too soon, you'd either doubt it or try to force it. So God shows you just enough to keep you watching, just enough to keep you believing, just enough to keep you ready. But here's what you need to understand as we move forward. These signs aren't random, they're sequential. They're building towards something. And if you're experiencing even 3 of these 5 right now, you're closer than you think. The question is, what happens when all five align? Dear chosen one, let me tell you something that's going to cut through every defense you've built around your heart. Your next relationship won't just be love, it will be redemption. And that terrifies you, doesn't it? Because you've spent years, decades, even convincing yourself that chapter was closed. That at 72 years old, love is something you watch in movies, not something you live. That companionship belongs to people who still have their original needs and don't need reading glasses to see a text message. But here's what's about to shock everyone who knows your story. This relationship, the one God is orchestrating right now while you're listening to my voice, it will make people whisper. Not because of scandal, not because of impropriety, but because they remember. They remember the funeral. They remember the divorce papers signed after 43 years. They remember how broken you were when betrayal shattered everything you believed about marriage. They watched you rebuild your life alone. They saw you learn to cook for one. They witnessed you selling that house full of memories because every room echoed with ghosts. They know you stopped believing that anyone could ever look at you again with those eyes, the ones that see past the wrinkles, past the scars, past the Medicare card in your wallet. And now they're about to see something that defies every assumption they made about your future. This relationship will shock your family. Your children will pause mid-sentence when they meet them. Your friends will lean in closer, studying this person who somehow reached the parts of you they thought died years ago. Even your enemies, yes, the ones who whispered that you'd never recover, never heal, never love again, even they will fall silent. Why? What makes this so different? Because, beloved, this relationship will be peaceful. After decades of fighting for scraps of affection, you'll discover what it feels like when someone chooses you every single day without negotiation. It will be mature. No games, no testing, no wondering if they mean what they say. It will be respectful. Your boundaries won't need defending because they'll honor what you honor. And it will be whole. Not two broken people clinging to each other's wounds, but two healed souls recognizing heaven's fingerprints on each other's journey. The world doesn't understand this kind of love. They can't fathom how two people in their 70s or 80s could experience something deeper than what they had in their youth. But you're about to prove them wrong. Think about Job. Remember him? The man who lost everything. His children, his wealth, his health, his reputation. His own wife told him to curse God and die. His friends accused him of secret sins. For chapters and chapters, he sat in ashes, scraping his sores with broken pottery, wondering if God had abandoned him. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to remember. Job 42:10 tells us, after Job had prayed for his friends, the Lord restored his fortunes and gave him twice as much as he had before. Twice as much. Not equal to what he lost. Double. The Hebrew word there is mishnah. It means duplicate portion, secondfold, double blessing. Your suffering wasn't the end of your story. It was the setup for your double portion. But let me tell you what will shake you to your core about this coming relationship. It's not just that it will be better than what you had. It's that it will be different in one specific way that separates it from every other relationship you've ever known. This person, they won't be trying to fix you. They won't be attracted to your brokenness, hoping to play savior. They won't need you to complete them or make them whole. No, chosen one. This relationship will be built on something most people never experience, even in their first marriages. Recognition, not attraction, not chemistry, not even compatibility. Recognition, this person will see you, truly see you, and recognize that you've been where they've been. They'll look at your eyes and know you understand loss at a cellular level. They'll hear your voice and detect the subtle strength that only comes from surviving what should have destroyed you. They'll watch how you move through the world and think, finally, someone who knows. You won't have to explain your triggers. They'll already understand. You won't have to justify your boundaries. They've built the same ones. You won't have to prove you're worth choosing. They'll know your value because they've paid the same price to become who they are. And here's what will shock you most of all. This relationship won't feel like starting over. It will feel like coming home to a place you've never been. The world will call it luck. Your children might call it nice that you have a companion. But you'll know the truth. This wasn't chance. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't just two lonely people settling for what's left. This was divine appointment. Strategic positioning. Heaven's response to every tear you cried alone in that empty house. But I need you to understand something critical. There is one trait, one specific characteristic that will define this relationship and separate it from everything you've ever experienced before. And if you miss this, if you don't recognize it when it appears, you might walk right past the very person God has been preparing specifically for you. What is that trait? What is the one thing you must recognize when this person enters your life? That's exactly what we need to uncover next. Because, beloved, recognition works both ways. They need to see you, but you also need to see them. And the enemy has been working overtime to blind you to exactly what you should be looking for. Dear chosen one, let me ask you something that's going to cut straight to the marrow of your soul. Have you ever met someone and felt like you've known them for 1,000 years? Have you ever locked eyes with a stranger and felt your spirit whisper, "Where have you been all my life?" Have you ever experienced that inexplicable knowing, that deep cellular recognition that says, "This person isn't new to me. This person is home"? Listen to me carefully. What I'm about to reveal will explain every failed relationship you've endured, every wrong turn you've taken, every person you settled for because you didn't know what you were actually waiting for. Your next relationship won't be built on attraction. It will be built on recognition. Not the recognition of faces or bodies or shared interests in gardening or bridge club. I'm talking about something far more ancient, far more powerful, far more terrifying to the kingdom of darkness. I'm talking about spiritual recognition. Soul familiarity. The moment when two spirits who were carved from the same eternal fire finally find each other in the chaos of this broken world. You see, the world has lied to you about love. Hollywood told you it's about butterflies and romance and candlelit dinners. Your friends told you it's about compatibility and common ground and shared hobbies. Even some churches told you it's just about finding a good Christian who goes to service on Sunday and doesn't drink too much. But that's not what God said. In Genesis 2:18, the Lord declared, "It is not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him." The Hebrew word for suitable is ezer kenegdo. It doesn't just mean compatible. It means a power equal to him, a counterpart, a match, someone who mirrors your spirit at the deepest level. Adam didn't choose Eve from a lineup of candidates. When he saw her, he didn't say, "Well, she seems nice." He said, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh." That's not attraction, beloved. That's recognition. That's a spirit crying out, "Finally, there you are." And that's exactly what's about to happen to you. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to understand. This kind of love, this divine alignment, doesn't happen when you're searching for it. It happens when you've been prepared for it. Every heartbreak you survived, every betrayal that should have destroyed you, every lonely night you cried yourself to sleep, wondering if you'd ever feel whole again, all of it was stripping away your ability to settle for anything less than soul recognition. You had to learn the difference between chemistry and calling, between infatuation and divine installation, between someone who wants you and someone whose spirit has been searching for yours since before time began. Think about Ruth and Boaz. She was a widow, a foreigner, poor. By every worldly standard, she had nothing to offer. But when Boaz saw her gleaning in his fields, something deeper than attraction stirred in him. Ruth 2:12 records his blessing, "May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." He recognized her spirit before he knew her story. He saw her faithfulness before he understood her circumstances. And their union didn't just bless them, it produced the lineage of King David, and ultimately, Jesus Christ himself. Your next relationship isn't just about your happiness, chosen one. It's about kingdom alignment. It's about two flames that were carved from the same eternal fire, finally igniting together to light up the darkness of this generation. But I need you to understand something that might shake you. This person God is sending, they won't look like what you expected. They might not fit the picture you've been painting in your mind for the last 30 years. They might be older than you thought, or younger than seems appropriate, or come from a background that makes your family raise their eyebrows. Because God isn't interested in your comfort zone, He's interested in your completion. When Jacob met Rachel at that well in Genesis 29, he didn't walk up and introduce himself politely. He moved a stone that normally took multiple men to move. He kissed her. He wept. Why? Because his spirit recognized what his mind couldn't yet comprehend. This was the one he'd been traveling toward his entire life. Two candles ignite faster when their flames were carved from the same fire. Right now, somewhere in America, there's someone whose spirit has been calling out for yours. They've been praying prayers that match yours. They've been crying tears that mirror yours. They've been wondering if they're too old, too broken, too late, just like you have. And God has been orchestrating a collision between your lives that will make everyone who knows you say, "How is this even possible?" But here's the urgency that should grip your heart right now. The enemy knows this connection is coming. He knows that when two divinely aligned spirits come together in their golden years, they don't just find companionship, they become a spiritual powerhouse. They pray together with authority that shakes hell itself. They love with a depth that testifies to God's faithfulness across decades. That's why He's been whispering lies. You're too old for this. Love like that doesn't exist anymore. You had your chance and you blew it. But those are the desperate words of a defeated enemy who knows his time to stop this union is running out. In John 17:21, Jesus prayed for unity, that all of them may be one, Father, just as you are in me and I am in you. This isn't just about the church, beloved. This is about relationships that reflect the Trinity itself, two becoming one in a way that reveals God's nature to a watching world. This isn't youthful infatuation that fades with the first argument. This isn't midlife passion that burns hot and dies fast. This is divine alignment. This is two people who have walked through enough fire to recognize the eternal flame when they see it in someone else's eyes. And the moment you meet them, you'll know. Not because violins will play or fireworks will explode, but because something ancient in you will whisper, "I've been looking for you." If you're ready for a God-aligned love, if you're willing to believe that your best love story hasn't been written yet, type AMEN in the comments right now. Because what I'm about to reveal next will show you exactly when and how this divine collision is about to occur in your life. Listen to me very carefully, chosen one, because what I'm about to tell you might be the hardest truth you'll hear tonight. You've been praying for this relationship. You've been crying out to God in the middle of sleepless nights, begging Him to send someone who understands you, who sees you, who won't leave you alone in these golden years that feel more like copper. But here's the shocking reality that most preachers won't tell you. God has already picked that person. Heaven has already arranged the meeting. The answer to your prayer is already walking the earth right now, breathing the same air, maybe living 3 miles away or 3 states over. So why haven't you met them yet? Because you're still holding on to something that doesn't belong in your future. The test isn't about whether you deserve love. The test is about whether you'll obey God enough to let go of what's blocking it. You see, some of you are still sleeping on the same side of the bed you slept on for 43 years, as if your deceased spouse might come back and need their space. Some of you are still wearing that wedding ring like it's a shield against new possibilities. Some of you are still having conversations with photographs, still setting 2 places at the table out of habit, still living like a ghost in a museum, dedicated to what used to be, and God is whispering, "I gave you that love. I blessed that season. But I also gave you today, and today needs you present, not haunted." But it's not just widows I'm talking to. Some of you are carrying torch flames for people who walked away 20 years ago. That man who left you for his secretary in 1987, you're still giving him emotional real estate in your heart. That woman who chose her career over your marriage, you're still rehearsing arguments you'll never have. That person who betrayed you, divorced you, abandoned you when you needed them, most they're gone, but you keep them alive in your spirit like unpaid rent. Let me tell you something that will cut deep. God cannot send the right person while you're emotionally renting space to the wrong one. Think about it. When the children of Israel left Egypt, they couldn't enter the promised land while they were still crying about the leeks and garlic back in slavery. Exodus 16:3 records their complaint. If only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt. There we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted. They were free, but their hearts were still in bondage. They had left Egypt geographically, but Egypt hadn't left them emotionally. That's you right now. You've left the old relationship, but the old relationship hasn't left you. And here's what the enemy knows that you don't. As long as you're emotionally entangled with the past, the future can't find you. As long as you're holding on to what died, what's alive can't reach you. As long as you're replaying old conversations, new words can't speak to your heart. The final test before this relationship arrives is not about your age. It's not about your weight or your wrinkles or your bank account. The final test is this. Will you release what God has already removed? Some of you need to hear this even if it hurts. That person you're still mourning, God didn't take them from you to punish you. He took them because their assignment in your life was complete, and now there's a new assignment waiting, but you keep blocking it with loyalty to a season that's over. I know what some of you are thinking right now, but Pastor, I loved them for 52 years. How can I just let go? And I hear you, dear one. But love and loyalty to the dead should never become a prison for the living. 1 Corinthians 7:39 says clearly, "A woman is bound to her husband as long as he lives, but if her husband dies, she is free to marry anyone she wishes, but he must belong to the Lord." Free. You are free. Not disloyal. Not unfaithful. Free. But freedom requires a choice. And that choice is the test. God is asking you right now, in this sacred moment, will you release the counterfeits, the almost relationships that went nowhere, the situationships that drained you, the fantasy of who you wished they'd become instead of accepting who they really were, the emotional affairs you've been having with memories that keep you bound to tombstones? Because here's the prophetic word that's burning in my spirit. If you pass this test, the delay breaks. If you let go of the wrong attachments tonight, tomorrow starts looking different. If you stop watering dead plants, new seeds can finally grow. But passing this test requires something most people aren't willing to do. It requires you to say out loud, with your actual voice, in your actual room, where only you and God can hear, "I release the old." Not in your head, out loud, because there's power in your voice. Proverbs 18:21 declares, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue." Your words create atmospheres in the spiritual realm. Your declarations shift things in places you cannot see. So right now, I'm not asking you to type in the comments. I'm commanding you to speak. Say it, "I release the old." Say it again, "I release the wrong attachments." Say it until you feel the weight lift. "I release the fear of being alone." And if you really want heaven to see your obedience, type it in the comments so the angels can bear witness. "I release the old." Because, beloved, the person God is sending you isn't coming to compete with your past. They're coming to redeem your future. But they cannot enter a heart that's already occupied by ghosts. The final test is here. Will you pass it? Or will you spend your remaining years mourning what was, instead of celebrating what could be? The choice, chosen one, is yours, but choose quickly, because the clock is ticking and destiny is impatient. Chosen one, we've walked through fire together for the last hour. We've uncovered lies, we've broken chains, we've remembered who you really are. But now, right now, I need you to lean in close, because what I'm about to tell you is the revelation the enemy worked overtime to keep hidden from you. Your next relationship won't feel like a beginning. It will feel like coming home. Do you understand what that means? At 68, at 74, at 82 years old, when everyone expects you to settle into loneliness like it's some kind of divine sentence, God is about to introduce you to someone who doesn't feel new, they feel familiar. Like you've known them across lifetimes. Like their voice echoes something your soul has been searching for since before you can remember. This isn't about replacing what you lost. This is about receiving what you earned. Listen to me carefully. You've spent decades, maybe 40, 50, 60 years pouring yourself out. You raised children who took you for granted. You built a marriage that ended in betrayal, or a hospital bed, or an empty chair at the dinner table. You gave and gave and gave until you had nothing left but memories and medications and the quiet hum of a television keeping you company at night. And somewhere along the way, you started believing that sacrifice was your portion, that loneliness was your reward for faithfulness, that God looked at your wrinkled hands and said, "You've had your turn." But that's not what heaven sees when it looks at you. God sees someone who stayed faithful when others walked away. Someone who loved even when love broke them. Someone who kept believing even when belief felt like foolishness. And now, right now, he's saying, "You've carried enough. Let me carry you into something you've never experienced before." Isaiah 61:7 declares it with thunderous authority. Instead of your shame, you will receive a double portion, and instead of disgrace, you will rejoice in your inheritance. Did you catch that? Double portion, not equal replacement, not fair exchange, double. God doesn't do even trades. He does overwhelming abundance for those who've walked through hell and came out still praising his name. Your next relationship is not a replacement, it's a reward. But here's where it gets supernatural. Here's where human logic breaks down and divine strategy takes over. The person God is sending won't make sense to your family. Your children will question it. Your friends will whisper behind your back. Society will look at your age and shake their heads like you're making a mistake. Good. Let them talk. Because what's coming isn't designed for their approval. It's designed for your completion. This relationship won't be about starting over. It will be about finishing strong. It won't be about filling a void. It will be about fulfilling a promise God made to you before you even knew you needed it. Think about Ruth and Boaz. She was a widow. He was established, mature, settled in his ways. But when God orchestrated their meeting, it wasn't just romance, it was redemption. It was generational blessing wrapped in unexpected love. Ruth 4:13 says simply, "So Boaz took Ruth and she became his wife." No drama, no explanation needed. Just divine timing meeting divine purpose. That's your story too, chosen one. No explanation needed. Just God's timing meeting God's purpose. But I need you to understand something that will change how you see your remaining years on this earth. You are not being given someone to grow old with. You are being given someone to grow eternal with. This isn't about finding a companion for bingo nights and early bird specials. This is about finding a soul who understands that your best conversations happen at 3 a.m. when you can't sleep because you're too busy talking about the mysteries of God. Someone who looks at your scars and sees beauty. Someone who hears your stories and wants more. Someone who knows that real love doesn't begin at first sight, it begins at first recognition. Your soul will recognize their soul. And when it does, you'll wonder how you ever lived without them. But here's the urgency that should grip your spirit right now. Time is not unlimited. Every day you spend believing the lie that your season is over is a day you're not preparing for what God is preparing for you. Every night you resign yourself to loneliness is a night you're blocking the blessing that's trying to break through. God is not asking you to go looking. He's asking you to stop hiding. Stop believing you're too old. Stop thinking you're too damaged. Stop convincing yourself that companionship is for younger people while you should just accept isolation as your portion. That is a lie from hell, and it ends today. At this age, God isn't giving you a chapter. He's giving you the conclusion He always intended. The ending that makes the middle make sense. The relationship that proves every tear you cried, every night you survived, every moment you wanted to quit but didn't, it was all leading here. To this person, to this love, to this divine appointment that will make everyone who knows your story whisper, only God could have done this. So I'm asking you right now, as we stand at the threshold of your breakthrough, are you ready? Are you ready to stop grieving what ended and start believing in what's beginning? Are you ready to receive the double portion Isaiah promised? If this message touched your spirit, if something ancient in your soul just woke up, write it in the comments. I'm ready for God's choice. Let heaven see your agreement. Let the angels witness your faith. And share this message with someone who feels forgotten, because they need to know that God's best gifts don't come with expiration dates. Stay connected with this community. Subscribe if you haven't, because your next season will not look like your last. The door is open, beloved, and love is waiting on the other side.